Is Monster Hunter Wilds endangered because of Capcom? Let's find out.
Imagine walking into the casino, placing everything on a single roulette wheel, and walking out with a humongous stack of cash. That
Yeah, of course, because you always win when you gamble. Just naturally. There has never been a gambler who regrets their life decisions for long, at least, because they Minecraft themselves typically.
is something that Capcom do not have to imagine, because they just did it with Monster Hunter Wilds. You see, they needed that game to succeed in order to save their year's financials, but not just to do that, but to save their overall company story of stable growth. Now, they got what they wanted. Monster Hunter Wilds is an incredible success, and per its game design, it completely deserves that. But it's a game that was not without risk, and PC players suffered. Again, as we always seem to do. Now, this time Capcom won. Time and
True.
time again, PC gamers are being treated awfully. I mean, one of the nice things about Clair Obscur is people saying, my god, look at this, the PC version appears to work well, and similar with Doom. And while this gamble did pay off,
Now, to be fair, most games nowadays are launching broken. It's just the thing that we expect now, day one patches and whatnot. Now, granted, there's no reason we should expect this or be happy with it or even remotely close to accepting it. We should. We should fight back against it. Game broken day one? Downvote it. Downvote it on Steam. Downvote it everywhere you can. That's how it should be done. That's how we actually get change.
this time, looking through the plan that they've just outlined in their earnings report, you do have to wonder when their luck will run out. And if this
Change without action never happens. Ask the French.
sort of gamble with your customers' trust is really something we should be doing. Monster Hunter Wilds is the best-selling game of the year, and per the Circana data service, it would have been the 6th best-selling game of 2024 as a whole after only 2 full months on sale.
Wow.
That is absolutely wild. Ugh, that's a bit of a cringe pun. Now, those are staggering figures, especially with how bad PC was. But in spite of the fact the game is still sitting at a mixed rating from users in Steam because of continued performance issues, we actually know that at launch, more than half the US sales were on Steam. Let me explain this, because Capcom needed to save their
We pretty much always expect all of these games, if they're not like dedicated PlayStation or Xbox games, to have at least 60% of their sales on PC typically.
numbers. Take a look at this video thumbnail. It's the one that I went with. It does look completely absurd and goofy, but it's actually true, and it's why they made this gamble. They basically needed to hit that. Wilds was their last chance to earn major money in that year, and they needed to deliver just under half of their full year's revenue target from just that one game. And if you look at the stat of, more than half in the US being in PC, it's pretty damn clear that they needed to ship a subpar
Now, I haven't seen that video, but I'll contextualize what is actually being said, okay? Capcom is not in a situation where they needed to actually make 76 billion. They needed to get to that target, which means they already had a portion of that 76 billion already there, ready to go, and they just needed Monster Hunter Wilds to, chip in the rest, whatever amount that actually was. That's what's actually happening here. There's no way it's not exactly what I'm saying.
product in PC that was not ready in order to hit those financial goals. So now that we've got the data, we can see how this gamble has paid off for them. This might make me weird, but I genuinely flippin' love earnings reports, so let's dive into this one. They recorded record-breaking growth for the 8th year in a row, and that's built off the back of not just reaching targets, but exceeding them. Wilds had 10 million sales, it caused their catalog sales to surge, and yes, that also does mean, right?
And also remember, Capcom sell Dragon's Dogma. They have a bunch of actual things. Like, look at this. These are pretty decent, honestly. These are very decent games, to say the least. And you know what's the best part about all of these games? They have Capcom monetization. And Capcom monetization is one of the most head-scratchy question mark monetizations you ever see. Because Capcom is going to sell you, in all of these games, a currency that you need to upgrade your main thing, probably. This is just a random example. And the thing is, they're gonna sell you a lot of that currency for an extremely appealing amount of real life money. But the reality is you can probably farm that currency an infinite amount in 5 minutes. Capcom does these things so much. They pretty much sell everything pay to win style in every game that they can. But you can farm down most of those things in like 5 minutes and you have enough for the rest of your playthrough, which is hilarious. Capcom's monetization is the wildest thing ever.
10% of all Monster Hunter games ever sold in the history of Earth, I don't know if they have Monster Hunter elsewhere, but they are copies of Wilds, sold from the end of February 2025 through to now. That is fucking savage performance. Now for them, overall games were up 8.9% in operating income for a total of 125 million yen. That's 4 times bigger than every other arm of Capcom, and my god, does Capcom have arms. Pachinko machine income was up 62.8%. Esports/media, 181%.
That is so bad for Japan as a country. Oof. Pachinko's just slots effectively, but different.
And arcades up by 30%. Kinda wild, and it does make me think, hey, Electronic Arts, you know the way you guys do the sports ball? Hey, why don't you have Electronic Arts Pachinko? We'd all love it. And I actually bring that up because they're kind of one step away from doing the whole sports gambling thing with what they're doing with their mobile apps, but that's a grim story for another day. Now, other games did do well. As an example, Resi 4 Remake, that crossed 10 million units sold. 2 of those units are from me, so yeah.
Resident Evil 4 Remake, I'm not sure, but I heard it was a bust. Not in the sense that it's bad, but in the sense that it actually did not sell enough. They did not sell as much as they expected. I could be wrong on this, but that's kind of what I remember.
Yeah, I suppose I've helped Capcom. Well deserved, it's a banging game. But basically, everything is doing well, and while catalog sales is going to be a major point in a few minutes, let's answer the question of that big, juicy thumbnail of the many, many yens that they needed to rake in. Did they rake in what they needed? The answer is yes. And again, with half of copies in the US being in PC, they needed to sell you that busted, unacceptable release in order to hit their financial forecast. And that's the bit that matters here. It's why shit happens. And the reason why I talk about it is whenever bad stuff happens, you notice it, you get pissed off, you're disappointed. I want to help arm you with info so you know actually why this stuff happens instead of just random theories. Now overall, net sales are up 11.3%, operating income is up 15.2%, and profit is up 11.7%. So in business terms, they made all of the right calls. Even, perhaps especially, those calls that were driven by bad incentives. Incentives that are bad for their devs, and that are bad for you. What we see is Capcom be rewarded for releasing a product despite doing so for the wrong reasons.
You know, it's going to be interesting with Capcom because Capcom currently is doing good, which is honestly kind of strange, but hey, that's just where we are in life. But when Capcom starts doing bad, oh, the monetization is going to go through the roof. We have not yet lived in a world where Capcom needs to do your classical Blizzard selling $100 mounts in every game that they have. We haven't seen their variant of Bethesda selling 15-minute long DLCs for $10. Okay, we have not been there with Capcom. So if Capcom starts falling and they don't reach their sales targets and whatnot, I wonder what's going to happen. Because again, Capcom's monetization already is, well, most people have accepted the scummy monetization as it is, okay? It's kind of annoying it's there, but people are like, who cares? What is Capcom gonna do when they need to make money? That is a really good question.
They could have delayed Monster Hunter Wilds to ensure performance was actually good. That it was basically what you deserve as a paying customer. But the incentive that they had in front of them...
LOL, the idea that paying customers deserve anything from devs in the modern day. Holy, well...
had nothing to do with the game. And nothing to do with you, other than the amount of money you could represent for them. Because instead, it was about their balance sheet. They needed Wilds to release and to sell. And they needed that because they needed to maintain their streak of growth, right? This isn't like Duolingo. Capcom can't get around breaking their streak with a microtransaction. Their overall company story is one of an amazing plan that's been happening over years, amazing successes, and continued steady growth. they could not afford to break that trend. Because remember, the people who own Capcom stock expect the value of that stock to go up. That is why they own it. And their comparative
Yeah, this is so wild. Okay, listen, because well, first of all, this is a Japanese yen, JP. That's what it means. And well, I one Japanese yen is worth what? Well, like 1 cent or so? No, 10 cents or something. No, something like 1 cent or something like that. It's not really that good, but who honestly cares? Or I'm completely wrong. But in any case, this growth. Look at this absolutely astonishing growth. If we look at it where it was worth 1K, in 5 years, they have returned. Well, this in 5 years they have returned 80% growth on stock per year. That is insane. Okay, this is what everyone dreams about in the gaming industry and in the financial world.
that is why they own it. And their comparative struggles through the middle of the 2010s, well, are kind of over. They've got this plan to achieve a medium-term goal of 10% growth every year for 10 years. And do you know what? They've bloody well done it. They're on their 10th consecutive year of 10% profit growth. Their system works. But this year, the only
That is completely insane, by the way, 10% growth per year. That is unacceptably large. So, the thing is, Capcom will at some point crash and burn because of this. Because this cannot be sustained. And when it cannot be sustained, again, we're going to see Capcom's version of selling, pixelated $100 mounts. Or something even worse, probably.
only way they could accomplish that was by putting out a product that was nowhere near as good as it could have been, that did not respect their customers. And we saw this last year. Last year, to a lesser extent, it happened with Dragon's Dogma. That's a game that launched with significant performance problems.
True, 10 FPS in the city, no one cares. Good game, keep playing. That was literally what people were saying about this. 10 FPS in the city, I don't fucking care. I'm gonna go play it anyway. And it was worth it.
Again, they could have delayed it, right? You can always delay a game to fix up those problems. They chose not to. They preserved their corporate story. That is infuriating. They should treat you better, but I do want to be clear about one thing. This does not take away from the achievement of the game designers behind these games, because those are games worthy of being made, worthy of being released, but they could have been even better if Capcom hadn't needed to release them to meet targets that are all about making a line go up. It is mercenary logic. It is making the choices that best serve the immediate goals, and it's taking hits to things like PC performance where those are acceptable. Now, to their credit, right? And I genuinely mean that. Unlike, say, Electronic Arts, where we've talked about profit being solely for shareholders, this success does somewhat seem to be reinvested in their staff. I've actually seen this across quite a few Japanese companies recently, and it truly is good. It should be praised. They have a plan for the future to make use of the, quote, human resources investment strategy. That's fluffy words, but the plan basically is they're hiring at least 100 more developers every year, and they're trying to ensure that the ones who remain are fairly compensated. And this year, that involved a stock-based compensation scheme, a 30% wage increase. God damn, that's amazing.
Damn, that's a lot.
And all of that alongside higher starting salaries and a better bonus scheme that's linked to performance. That is awesome.
That is not awesome. Okay, anyone know about the Japanese work culture? Not awesome at all, okay? This is like, okay, yeah, you're gonna get actually decently compensated, but congratulations with your 14-hour weekday. Well, not weekday, but your 14-hour workday. Yeah, because that's kind of what it's gonna be. The Japanese work culture is effectively like this. If you're not hanging around the office for an hour or two or maybe three every day after work time officially ends for free, by the way, that means that you're a bad employee because you're not trying. Yes, that is the Japanese culture when it comes to these things. So, I would, if you ask me, I don't think that's worth it. I don't think that's worth 30%. I want a life that I can live, not a life that I'm literally a slave. Okay? That's kind of what I'm striving forward.
Right? The more the companies are doing that, the better, and Capcom should be fucking praised for that, because other companies do not do it properly. It's almost as if Capcom have realized that the games that give them the nice line that goes up are actually made by developers, and if they sort of treat those developers right and pay them more and try to be a competitive employer, then guess what? It'll mean more games, and that'll mean more line go up. But it doesn't make them immune to criticism. That's why this video exists, and you know what? We criticize the things that we love so that they stay on track. Now, basically, where they are is they have a stable business plan, they have happy shareholders that seem to be getting what they want over time, and that gets us these great games even if they are not given as much time for polish as they really would deserve. Though, of course, with all this going well, Capcom, of course, plans to keep their plan, this 10% profit growth every year. The line indeed must go up, and they're actually now expecting to make more money next year, up by 12%. But as has been noted by analyst Morrow NL, next year looks a little bit different, and it's how this video gets itself a little bit of a spicy, dramatic ending. Okay, so next year Capcom's releases are looking a little bit different. They're only forecasting 8 million new product sales next year, which actually does make a lot of sense based on what we know. And here's what we know. You've got remasters for Onimusha 2, you've got ports and re-releases for the likes of Street Fighter and Kunitsugami. That'll only take them so far, and their only announced big new game is Onimusha Way of the Sword. And that's likely to be later in 2026, which would be out of financial year 2026 because, just using one calendar is not good enough for the world. Now, there is potential for a new Resident Evil to take the slot that Monster Hunter had this year, but Capcom so far are not willing to commit to their investor forecast that that's going to happen, not in the way that they did for Monster Hunter. So basically, with no new games, what'll matter to them is library sales. And they're saying that that would instead make up 85% of their total sales between DLC and legacy purchases. Now, admittedly, right? That does technically include, say, the rest of the year's sales for Monster Hunter Wilds. So it'll be a big number. And of course, any expansion that comes out for that game. So it's not like it's impossible for them to hit their targets. And again, this is Capcom. They've been very clear in their DLC practices, which is where they will sell you as many consumable DLC objects as.
Yeah, this is also a Capcom thing. By the way, these DLCs do they're just displayed like this. They're like DLCs, not actual in-game. I don't know how they do this, but this is the pay-to-win part. Buy some kind of thing. Oh, look at this pendant, green fairy light. You see what I mean? This is an item, and it's marked as a DLC.
They can possibly justify to eke a little slice more profit out of the audience.
Oh, but look at that! Did you see that? Did you know this free? Free! There's something free. Are you happy? 125 buckaroonies, by the way.
The audience. I'm sure you remember there being a big old drama around Dragon's Dogma 2 and all of that stuff. So it's not an impossible target. There's going to be a bit of a lull, but those lulls are natural and okay, and they happen to every developer. I think it's just particularly noticeable here because of the impact that Monster Hunter Wilds had. You see, if Capcom can't have that significant catalog performance match up with the new game sales, then the big test of them as a company starts. Can they maintain this whole dev-first, product-focused production system if a 10-year success streak is broken? And that is what brings us to the logic that drove the decision to actively, knowingly sell you a game that was not up to par. The line must go up, and that matters to you. We know Capcom will compromise if they need to meet a financial demand.
I honestly don't think this is even Capcom compromising. I think this is just Capcom not giving two shits about the state of the game. It is what it is. Anyway, it's true. The line must go up, and in Capcom's case, again, the fall of Capcom, which is inevitable at this point, because they can't keep going up like this. Sooner or later, they're gonna release a dud. Their market saturation is, well, probably not even close to be capped out, but it's an immediate vicinity. It's already kind of taken, so it's not gonna be easy for them. Like in the next 3 years, they're gonna have a downturn. 100% guarantee you. 100%, boys. Anyway, that was Billiard News. Nice.